What is source material? Why is it so important? Why does the industry want to make it irrelevant? Well, it's not history, it is a blueprint to what makes a character a character.
This shows character.
I have character.
Because you are a character doesn't mean that you have character.
There are decades and in some cases millennia of backstory. There's a mythos that was developed which goes hand in hand with their story. From the Odyssey and heroes like Hector and Achilles to Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. I love the story in the movie Unbreakable where Elijah Price, played by Samuel L. Jackson, explains the history of pictographic representations that evolved into comics.
I believe comics are our last link to an ancient way of passing on history. The Egyptians drew on walls. Countries all over the world still pass on knowledge through pictorial forms. I believe comics are a form of history that someone somewhere felt or experienced.
So there's a video that's been making rounds about how Disney Marvel has been treating source material. To give you some backstory, it's about a group of creatives that has completely either been siloed from other creatives, chosen not to defer to source material, and or never was a fan. Let's check it out.
I was not very steeped in the comics.
I didn't read any comics or do any research.
I wasn't familiar with the comics. I wasn't familiar with the movies.
We didn't lean into a whole lot of the history of the comic books.
Yeah, candidly, we were not enormous comic fans.
I wasn't super into superhero comics when I was a kid. I read a lot of like indie press stuff.
First thing I was told is don't read the comics.
Really?
As a creator, they put you in a bubble. They don't let you talk about any of the other projects, right?
You know, they're up for anything.
We ultimately decided to redefine it for the series and thought that it worked better for the story that we're trying to tell.
Did you ever read you haven't read the comic?
When the DVD comes out, I'm going to read a Thor comic book and just see where we went wrong.
So let's contrast this to Kevin Feige's words years ago.
I've been a Marvel fan my entire life. I've worked for Marvel for over 10 years now. And during all of that time, it was, why can't all the characters come together like they do in the comics? And about 5 years ago, we became Marvel Studios. We had the rights to almost all of our great characters. And I realized, you know what, we could do it now.
Where is the disconnect? Where did things change? Some think it was the Disney machine. Is this fair? Maybe, maybe not. Disney is a publicly traded company, and it has a fiduciary responsibility to its stockholders, but it made a conscious decision to change these characters. It thought it needed to be more inclusive. It needed to wring every drop of capital from its audiences. It's all in on this. We can discuss the merits of the strategy, and you can see Marvel movies doing worse and worse at the box office. Some talk about superhero fatigue, but it's really bad story fatigue. But as of today, Disney's riding the Titanic, for better or worse. So giving creatives artistic license is not necessarily a bad thing, and we saw this with movies like Wrath of Khan that were critical and financial successes. A director like Nicholas Myers that was not familiar with the source material but took the time to establish a universe. Others include The Thing, The Wizard of Oz, Blade Runner. Exceptions do not make the rule, and when working with thousands of established storylines and characters with built-in audiences, how does one make sense of changing them so drastically? We've been getting an increasingly diluted story for the sake of what the drinker calls modern audiences.
Of the United States of
It's fine to create your own characters and make new stories. In fact, that's what audiences want. But the process is not easy. And Hollywood doesn't seem to want to get its hands dirty. It wants the path of least resistance. I don't blame them, but you gotta put in the work if you want to get a good movie out. Hollywood is learning that it isn't enough to repackage an established IP and hope for the best. But that's a topic for another time, and we'll definitely get to that. Anyways, please like and subscribe, because that YouTube algorithm is not always our friend. And as always, keep watching movies.